Hey guys, it's Chris Colgan. I am back with another episode of Nova Live. And guess what? This is only our second episode, and we got some crazy stuff to share on this episode. Here is what we are talking about. I'm going to tell you where the very first Apple store opened by Steve Jobs himself. And no, it was not in California. The location is definitely going to surprise you. Plus, there is a massive new sports venue that's potentially coming to Washington, D.C. It looks like something out of the year 3000 pretty much. And the craziest part, Mark Zuckerberg just became our neighbor at the tune of $23 million. We got a new neighbor here in the DMV, and that's just the beginning. So let's get into these stories. All right, so let me start with a little bit of a story that's a little wild that you may not have known. Most people think the first Apple store actually opened in Silicon Valley. Nope, Steve Jobs himself opened the very first Apple store right here in Tyson's Corner on May 19th, 2001. Now, the crazy thing was I was actually doing some research for this, and I was looking at some pictures, and there was pictures of Fairfax County police officers doing security, and I actually saw one of my past clients, Dave Kuhar, and his daughter's actually on the police force right now. So that was kind of funny, and I texted him and they were all pumped up, and he said he remembers this day really well. So before the iPhone, before Apple became a multi-trillion-dollar company, everything started in a quiet mall called Tyson's Corner right here in Northern Virginia. And it wasn't just by some random choice, right? Jobs had a plan. Back in 2001, Tyson was already a huge shopping spot. You had government workers, early tech fans, and families who could actually afford Apple products, which we know they're not cheap. And that was exactly the crowd that him and Apple were aiming for. Jobs wanted to try something new. Stores where workers actually knew the tech, simple layouts without a bunch of stuff everywhere, and spots where people could go actually test the products before buying. No one had ever done anything like that in retail before. Now, the first store in Tyson's Corner was actually only 6,000 square feet. It had iMac G3s and iBooks on wood tables, music stations where you could listen to songs, and video areas where you could learn stuff hands-on, but there was no iPhone yet. And people actually showed up. Now, this actually sounds a little crazy. There was only 500 people that came in the first few hours. I mean, imagine now if something like that happened, of course, when Steve Jobs was alive, it would be absolutely insane. But by the end of the week, it had been the most visited store in all of the mall. You're talking 2001, early 2001. That was like at the prime time of shopping malls, right? Now, if you are into real estate like me, this shows why Tyson's is such a big deal today, right? Since that, Apple's had the Apple Store opened, we have the first Silver Line Metro come in, places like the Borough and Capital One Center, fancy condos, and big tech companies moving in. Let's not forget the largest owner of Bitcoin is also located right here in Tyson's Corner. Here's what I think. This shows that Tyson's isn't just a place with shops and restaurants and traffic, of course. It's all about being first. It's about doing something new. The same energy that Jobs picked this spot is still here in Fairfax County. If it worked for Steve Jobs in 2001, it might just work for the next great startup here in Northern Virginia in 2025. Before we move on, if these Northern Virginia news are helping you stay ahead and you want to know what could affect your home's value, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It's like getting your own sneak peek of what's coming next to our area, from cool new projects to rich people moving into buying pricey homes. I've got it all for you. All right, so this next story is absolutely insane. I'm sure you saw this on TikTok or Instagram, probably during the football season or maybe during the last March Madness. There is a sports venue that's looking into coming here in Washington, D.C. The company's called Cosm, and they build these wild sport venues that make you feel like you're actually at the game, and they're looking for a spot right here in Washington, D.C., according to the Washington Business Journal. Now, imagine walking into something that looks like a giant planetarium, but instead of stars, there's a huge 87-foot LED dome playing the Commanders game on super clear 12K. It feels like you're right there on the field or sitting courtside at a Wizards game. They call it shared reality, and yeah, it is as cool as it sounds. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. It looks like you are literally sitting at the sidelines. I actually saw somebody recording this. I thought they were at the game. That's how crazy it is. And while we're talking about big wins for DC, later I'll share the news about Virginia's business ranking that many people are actually freaking out about. I don't think they're seeing the whole story though. You'll want to hear what I think about it. But for now, let's get back to this crazy sci-fi sports dome. They've already got two of these places. One's in LA next to SoFi Stadium, and then the other one is actually in Dallas, Texas. Now they want to open one here, and they're researching for between 40 and 80,000 square feet, and they're looking to do it near one of the stadiums like maybe Audi Field or Nats Stadium there in Washington, D.C. Now here's the exciting part. This is actually an affordable way to pretty much be at a sports game where you have room access, right? You can sit down and have a drink. You don't have to spend a lot of money for that front row experience. It's like going to the movies and you feel like you're in the game. From the real estate angle, I think this could be big for DC. They're eyeing Southeast DC, which could use something major for people to help boost the area. If it happens, this could kick a lot of new stuff, like more buildings, higher property values, and more tourists. The company just raised an additional $250 million, and they're planning to expand to places like Atlanta, Detroit, and Cleveland, and they've got support from big names, including the guy who owns the Rams and the former owner of the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, DC is trying to call itself the sports capital of the world. This could actually help make that a real thing, right? A real opportunity to be the sports capital of the world. If you're thinking about buying in Southeast DC near the stadiums, this might be a good time. Although knowing DC parking will probably cost more than one of these tickets, but hey, at least the Metro goes there, right? This next story really made my day and will probably save you a lot of mucho dinero or cash. The Virginia Supreme Court just shut down a huge toll hike on Dallas Greenway, like unanimously. This thing would have been brutal for commuters. Listen to this. This is what they were trying to do. They were trying to raise the peak toll prices from $5.80 to $8.10. That's a 40% jump. And if you drove there 5 days a week, that's an extra $1,100 a year just to get your job. I mean, $1,000 extra dollars just to drive that toll if you used it every day. But here's what's really wild, and I'll tell you more about this in a few minutes. Mark Zuckerberg just dropped $23 million cash on a DC mansion, and the whole sale happened in just 3 days. While we're here fighting over toll increases of $1,000, this guy is dropping cash in 3 days for $23 million mansions. But let's get back to this toll story. Now, the Greenway is more than $1 billion in debt and only gets around 37,000 trips a day. When they built it, they expected around 128,000 people a day in 2023, and they're not even close, and they're planning to fix it, charge people even more every year. I mean, that's probably one of the most ridiculous plans I've ever heard in my life. Now, the court basically said no way. They ruled that the tolls were just too much and would push people away from using the road even more, and for 900 people sent in comments saying that they already avoid the Greenway because it's too expensive. What do you guys think? Do you guys actually use that road a lot? Like, I kind of only use it if I have to, do just like the cost when I'm over there by Ashburn or maybe Sterling. And from a real estate angle, I think this is a big win for Western Loudoun County. Buyers often weigh the cost of tolls when considering homes in places like Leesburg or Percyville. Some are fine with a few dollars here or there, $5 each way, but when you're talking $8 to $10, they're definitely going to take alternative routes like Route 7. If their price hike would have gone through, home values could have actually dropped. I think nobody wants to live somewhere beautiful. It's going to cost an extra $1,000 a year just to get to work. And here's what I think. It's a good thing the court stepped in. Many people have already avoided the Greenways because of the price. They'd rather spend an extra 20 minutes on traffic on Route 7 than not pay those tolls. When even residents with solid incomes are steering clear, it's clear the toll prices are way too high. I mean, even on 66, when I'm going into Fairfax or maybe even onto 28 going out that way, I mean, the dynamic pricing, it's like $10 to go from Gainesville, Manassas area to 28. It's absolutely insane. So I think this decision really helps people in Western Loudoun and families. Of course, I mean, an extra 40%. I mean, they were definitely reaching for the stars on that one. All right, so this story right here isn't that great. Now, my grandfather was always proud of Virginia being ranked #1 by CNBC pretty much every year for doing business. Well, guess what? People are freaking out literally because we just fell from #1 to #4 on CNBC's best states to do business. We were #1 for the last 6 times, I believe, but this year, North Carolina took the top spot. Texas was in second and Florida was in third. Well, here's what happened. CNBC said Virginia fell 14th overall economy. Last year, we were at #11th. They're blaming it on worries from federal job cuts and tariffs, go figure. Basically, they think the federal jobs and contractors might get hit hard by the administration's budget plans. They're throwing out some pretty scary numbers, like we could lose 32,000 jobs this year. Unemployment might go from 3.4% to 3.9%, and by 2026, they say it could almost hit 5% in the state of Virginia. But here's what they're not saying enough on. Virginia is still #1 in the United States for education, and we jumped to #2 for for infrastructure. Plus, there's 270,000 more Virginians working now and 200,000 job openings in fields like manufacturing, healthcare, space, and education. So if you're watching the housing market, there's only about 45 days of inventory right now in Northern Virginia. Some federal workers are holding off on major decisions due to job uncertainty. At the same time, defense contractors, tech companies, and data centers are still hiring like crazy. While dropping in the rankings may raise concern, the market remains active and federal contractors are still looking to buy, confident in the stability of their work. The real thing to watch is whether these new jobs pay as well as the federal one. That makes a big difference in what people can afford and spend a house on. So things are shifting, but are they not falling apart? I don't think I'd let the rankings shake you. I have someone in my family who just left a government job and they got a job at a data center, and he was telling me, Chris, man, I get a month off a year. I'm making almost double pay. So he lost his federal job and now he's working at a Loudoun County data center making double pay, and he gets a month off vacation. I should actually consider that. But by the way, if you're thinking about buying or selling a home, definitely email me info@colganteam.com. or text me anytime. I saved the best story for last because, the founder of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, this is actually insane. So Mark Zuckerberg is officially our neighbor, and by neighbor, I mean he just dropped $23 million in cash on a mansion on Woodley, Normstone neighborhood that makes it the most third expensive sale in DC history. Now, this whole thing was super secret. The house went on the market on a Monday, got a buyer on Tuesday, and closed Wednesday. Now, I probably would outbid him if I would have known this was going to happen. It sold through Delaware LLC called Red Brick Corner. Right after sale, Google Maps blurred out the house. So, that obviously his people went in and had Google Maps instantly blur that out. It's actually 15,400 square feet, designed by a fancy architect named Robert Gurney. It's a 5-bedroom, 7.5 bathroom, basketball court, a pool, vegetable garden, fire pit, enough yard space to pitch a whole tent for events. But here's what's even more interesting. Zuckerberg isn't the only tech billionaire buying homes in the DC area. Jeff Bezos has a $23 million mansion in Kalorama. Peter Thiel just bought a $13 million house right next to Mark Zuckerberg's, and Eric Schmidt spent $15 million on the house where Jackie Kennedy used to live, and David Sachs just bought a $10 million penthouse. I mean, there's some expensive properties in DC. And maybe I need to sell some more in DC, right? From a real estate angle, this is actually good news. When billionaires are parking their money here in DC homes, it shows they have a lot of trust in the area, right? That kind of confidence helps lift up the whole market. A Meta spokesperson said Zuckerberg's new house will let him spend more time in DC while Meta works on policy and tech leadership. Translation, he wants to be close to the White House so he can meet with politicians. You know what I mean? Like, this is obviously all a play to get more to the Trump administration and have some more stuff with all of the laws and all that, probably more in regards to AI and everything that Meta is involved in. So these tech billionaires are basically setting up their own little embassies in DC. They want to be close to the power, and buying a $23 million home 12 minutes from the White House is a good way to do that. For the rest of us, it means tech money coming into the DC market would push his home values up. But still, Zuckerberg's gonna end up stuck in the same beltway traffic the rest of. There's no way he's getting on a chopper in DC. Well, maybe not, but I'm sure he might be still sitting in the beltway traffic. All right, guys, so that wraps up this week's stories. What do you think? Would you check out that Cosm venue? Are you stressed about Virginia's business rankings? Should Mark Zuckerberg invite us over for dinner? Drop a comment. I actually read them, and I want to know what you guys think back. Let me know if you like this new channel, and if you're thinking about buying or selling a home, whether you're a tech billionaire or just somebody who's like me on the street, right, just walking around wanting to buy a house, I can definitely help you, and definitely hit that subscribe button. Guys, I will see you next week for our next video.